Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into how family property gets legally divided. It's this whole process called partition, and honestly, you might be shocked to find out that it can all be set in motion by just a single, simple statement. All right, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by looking at the two sides of what partition actually means. Then, we'll get into the sheer power of just intending to separate. After that, we'll see how you make that intention known, what happens right after, and finally, and this is super important, we'll break down the huge difference between joint tenancy and tenancy in common. All right, first up, what in the world do the courts actually mean when they talk about partition? Because trust me, it's not as simple as just cutting a cake in half. So check this out. Under what's known as Mitikshara law, which is the rulebook for many Hindu undivided families in India, the word partition actually has two totally different meanings. You've got the legal shift, and then you've got the physical one. First up, and honestly, this is the big one, is this idea of severance of status. Now, I want you to think of this as more of a mental switch. It's the decision to say, hey, we're no longer a joint family when it comes to this property. It's a change in your legal status, not a physical line on the map, and it happens the second that decision is made. And then you have the second part, which is what most of us think of when we hear the word partition, division by metes and bounds. Now, this is the physical stuff, getting out the tape measure, drawing the lines, and actually handing over specific plots of land to each person. But remember, this can only happen after that first step, the severance of status. Okay, so if that severance of status is the crucial first step, what kicks it all off? Well, the answer is kind of shocking in its simplicity, but it has massive legal weight. It all comes down to one thing: a clear, unequivocal, that means totally unambiguous, expression of an intention to partition. That's it. One person in the joint family just has to say, I want my share, and boom, the fuse is lit. And get this isn't some new idea. This legal principle goes back over 100 years. There was a huge ruling back in 1922 that basically said the legal separation happens the moment someone clearly states their intention. It doesn't matter when or even if the property ever gets physically split up. And fast forward to more modern times, and the courts are still saying the same thing. A 2008 case really hammered this home, saying that the moment that intention is expressed, everyone's individual share gets locked in. And at that exact moment, the whole way the property is owned changes. It flips from being a joint tenancy to something called a tenancy in common. Don't worry, we're going to circle back and explain that difference in a big way at the end. Now, here's something that might surprise you. The law, it could not care less about why you want a partition. Seriously. Is it because of a family argument, a business deal, you just feel like it? The reason is totally irrelevant in the eyes of the court. All that matters is that clear, stated desire to separate. Okay, but it's not like you can just think it and make it happen, right? That intention has to get out there. And that leads us to our next critical piece of the puzzle, communication. And this part is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to communicate that intention to sever to every single person who has a legal claim on that property. You can't just tell one person or do it in secret. Everyone who has a stake has to be put on notice. So, this raises a really interesting legal question, a real brain teaser. What if you mail out a notice saying you want a partition, but then you get cold feet and try to cancel it before anyone even reads the letter? Can you take it back? Well, a famous case called Puttaranga gives us the perfect example. Here's what happened. A family member mailed a letter declaring his intent to split. But then he had a change of heart and literally ran to the post office to try and get the letter back. Too late. The cat was already out of the bag, so to speak. And the court's decision on this was crystal clear. They said that communication was effective the second the letter was posted. Just the act of putting it into the mail system was enough. At that point, the legal severance had happened. No takebacks. And this really drills down to another key takeaway here. Partition, this severance of status, is a unilateral right. That means you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need their agreement or their consent. As long as you clearly state and communicate your intention, it's a done deal legally. Okay, so let's recap. The declaration is out there. It's been communicated. What happens in that very instant? What's the immediate fallout? Well, the biggest, most immediate result is a complete change in how the property is owned. It stops being a joint tenancy. and it instantly becomes a tenancy in common. And that one little change, well, it changes absolutely everything. And to really wrap our heads around how big of a deal this is, we absolutely have to put these two legal ideas side by side: joint tenancy versus tenancy in common. So let's break it down. All right, let's really dig into this chart because this is the whole shebang. Before partition, you're in a joint tenancy. Think of it like the whole family owning the property as one single unit. The most important feature here is something called the right of survivorship. That means if one family member passes away, their share automatically gets absorbed by the other living members. You literally cannot pass your share on to your own kids in your will. It just doesn't work that way. But the moment that declaration of partition is made, everything flips. Now you're in a tenancy in common. Suddenly, everyone has their own separate, defined share. And that right of survivorship? Gone. Poof. Your share is now your property to do with as you please. You can sell it, you can mortgage it, and, this is the game changer, you can leave it to your own heirs in your will. This is the ultimate outcome, the real effect of partition. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? Partition isn't just about drawing lines on a map. It is a profoundly powerful legal act that completely rewrites the rules of ownership and who gets what down the line. It all starts with that one simple, clear declaration of intent. And that single act can change a family's financial destiny for generations to come. And that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? How does this legal framework, which was designed for a totally different time, fit into the messy, complex realities of the modern family today?